The Divine Transference, Part 3. Origin and Belief. The Ancient Foundation. The Ancient Foundation. The city is founded on worship, not on reason. Social order arises from unanimous belief in its own sacred origin. Where belief weakens, force and wealth rush in as substitutes. Power follows faith. When faith falters, power becomes tyranny. Every polity is a theology disguised as administration. The hearth and the ancestor. The hearth is the altar, the flame, the ancestor's soul. Marriage, law, and kinships are derivatives of sacrifice. The family is the first temple, its fire must never go out. Forgetting the ancestor is the primal sin. The city is the family magnified, its gods pluralized, its fire divided among many hearths. Belief rules man because belief is stronger than its believer. It is human and we take it for divine. It is our creation and it creates us. Thought binds itself in its own enchantment. The worship of what is once imagined. To believe is to obey one's own ghost. When belief dies, institutions rot from within, and skepticism becomes civil war. At the origin stands an event no man remembers, but all repeat. The sacred begins where violence is deferred. The gesture that renounces appropriation became the first sign. Language was born in fear and gratitude. The first word was the first peace treaty. The being at the center is being. Divinity is the memory of restraint. Every society resolves around its center, the object it cannot touch. The center commands by absence. To preserve the center is the first moral duty. When the sacred center is usurped, hierarchy is born. The big man replaces the god and the ancestor replaces the animal. The divine becomes hereditary, the sacred becomes political. The city dies when its rights no longer bind its classes. Primogeniture abolish is the first crack in eternity. Equality begins as a pragmatic convenience and ends as revolution. The plebeian is the child of forgotten ancestors. Where there is no common worship, there can be no common good. The law of the gods gives way to the law of men, and the tyrant replaces the priest. The tyrant is born when obedience becomes secular. King once meant one who sacrificed. Tyrant means one who commands. The first tyrant is the rule of mere humanity. With the tyrant, obedience loses its sacred disguise and becomes naked will. The people enthrone what they have already internalized. Resentment. Wealth replaces worship. Money becomes the new altar's flame. Democracy replicates the rituals of religion under the name of procedure. The citizen is the new priest, the vote the new sacrifice. The city of equality is united only by mutual envy. Thank you. Law replaces faith, but remains haunted by it. When power becomes arithmetic, the gods have fled. The demos is the congregation without a god. The belief that binds most must trace back to be a shared beginning. But historical origins cannot sanctify the present, they decay under scrutiny. The true origin is not a fact, but a capacity, the ability to defer violence. Faith in the originary is faith in the future of peace. To inherit is to preserve the credit of the dead. To rule is to gather, not to spend, the moral capital of origins. Morality begins where sacrifice ends. To compel the divine is the oldest sin. The scapegoat is the ghost of the first murder. A just community forbids regicide, for forbids sacred murder. The ruler must be immune from vengeance, yet bound by reverence. The moral order is the deferral of sacrifice made conscious. Sovereignty is the memory of the first peace. Each ruler inherits the credit of his predecessor and must increase it. Authority collapses when its genealogy is broken. The sacred chain of command is a moral economy, not a bureaucracy. The throne is not a possession, but a trust, a post in the originary scene. To depose is to forget, to remember is to govern. Liberalism distrusts the center. The center it depends on. It worships freedom while feeling. It worships freedom while feeding on authority. The protection of the individual from the state is the fragmentation of the sacred. A divided center multiplies tyrants. Only faith in the originary can restore unity without oppression. The true future of democracy is the recovery of the sacred center as shared origin. Civilization deferred, violence made durable. Religion equals memory of the first restraint. Politics equals circulation of the sacred credit. Revolution equals the reenactment of the first crisis. Morality equals the prohibition of scapegoating. The end of history equals the beginning of remembrance. Faith is not nostalgia but vigilance. The vigil, the center. The center is eternal because it is continually rediscovered. Every institution is an attempt to remember how to defer. The ruler's task to guard the center without claiming it. The citizen's task to see in the center not a God, but the trace of peace. To live politically is to live ritually, to keep the first gesture alive. Man may forget the past, but he always preserves it within himself. Death was the first mystery. Representation originates as the deferral of violence. The soul remains near men and continues to live underground. The ancient belief in the originary soul. No institution can be understood apart from the earliest belief. The law is the fossil of religion, the state the echo of ritual. To study Greece and Rome without their dead is to misread the living. All social form is first a metaphysics, later a habit. The earliest beliefs are not errors, they are the scaffolds of reason. The origin persists, hidden in the structure of the modern. The ancients were not our ancestors, they were another species of mind. We moderns look backwards through our own reflection and mistake it for antiquity. To interpret the ancient city by the modern state is to translate gods into statistics. Ancient liberty was ritual obedience. Modern liberty is ritual amnesia. Between them lies the slow death of the sacred. Nothing in the future can resemble the city of the dead. Death is not dissolution, but displacement. The soul remains local. It inhabits its tomb as the body once inhabited the world. The grave is a dwelling, not a memorial. Burial is the founding contract between the living and the dead. The unburied soul is the first revolutionary, restless, accusatory, homeless. The peace of the city depends on the nourishment of its dead. Rituals fix the soul where language cannot. The formula spoken at the tomb seals the social covenant. Without proper rites, the world and underworld intermingle in disorder. Impiety is not disbelief, but negligence. The failure to feed the invisible. Every omission is ritual, invites ghosts into politics. The first law of civilization is let the soul rest lightly in the earth. The first gods were one's ancestors. Divinity began with domestic affection, elevated into duty. To call the dead good was to transform memory into law. Every family hearth was a sanctuary, every tomb an altar. The earliest temple was a house extended underground. To live rightly was to maintain a lineage of offerings. Worship is reciprocity between generations. The dead depend on the living for nourishment. The living depend on the dead for order. Faith is the equilibrium of mutual sustenance between life and death. Neglect breeds hauntings. Reverence breeds continuity. The ancestor appeased becomes guardian. Neglected, he becomes curse. Civilization is the management of ghosts. To be buried is to be remembered. To be unburied is to be erased. The denial of burial is the primal punishment, damnation before theology. The funeral rite is not a sentiment, but a sentence. It situates the soul. Every grave is a covenant of peace between the living and the dead. The persistence of rights proves the persistence of fear. The city's justice begins at the tomb. Continuity of language and rites, words are tombs that preserve vanished beliefs. Every linguistic root contains the sediment of a forgotten ceremony. To speak is to perform an inheritance. The word rest carries within it a prehistoric theology. Language is the most enduring religion. The dead live in syntax. East and West were once one faith, divided by geography. The Vedic and the Roman are dialects of the same liturgy. The ancestors of India and Italy ate from the same metaphysical table. Before Zeus, before Brahma, there was the household dead. The doctrine of the soul is older than the doctrine of the gods. Religion began not in heaven, but in the grave. The dead became demons, the demons became gods. The family cult evolved into the city cult, the hearth into the capital. Civilization is ancestor worship scaled upward. The state inherited the authority of the tomb. To forget this genealogy is to misrecognize sovereignty as invention, not inheritance. The first philosophers were mourners. To think metaphysically is to translate grief into order. The mystery of death produced the first act of abstraction. Death taught man that being exceeds appearance. The idea of eternity arose from the persistence of bones. Death was the first teacher of divinity. Every social revolution begins as a theological mutation. When belief changes, the law changes. When law changes, the world begins again. The effacement of ancient religion is the origin of political thought. Philosophy arises where ritual falters. Modernity begins with the desacralization of the grave. The death of the dead is the birth of the modern. The city is the tomb made vertical. Every polis is an acropolis disguised as progress. Civic life is a continuation of the funeral feast by other means. To maintain civilization is to remember the ground on which it rests. The modern city forgets its dead and therefore multiplies them. To recover belief is not to resurrect gods, but to learn again how to bury. To recover belief is not to resurrect gods, but to learn again how to bury.